So I'm going to title this video, Why Most Get Home Bag Advice is Bullcrap. So I know that's probably one hell of a title for our first video in the channel, but I think it's something that gets a lot of coverage or discussion in the prepping community. And I think in a lot of cases, a lot of the advice provided doesn't really fit most people. So I know this video topic might upset a few people and might trigger some people to make criticism or alarms, but before you make any judgments, listen to it all, soak it in, and really give it some serious thought. And keep in mind, my advice is for what I would consider most people. Obviously, everybody's individual scenario is different, where they live and so forth. So I can't, tell you exactly what's right for you. You have to make that decision yourself. But keep in mind that my advice is tailored or suggested towards most people, not what I would consider a small minority of people. What I'd like to say also is prepping is not stupid, but it really should be realistically thought out and be personalized towards you. So one of the first criticisms I have towards these videos that talk about get-home bags and what you should have is I think most of these things, it's way too bloated and there's some tons of unneeded items, realistically speaking. So let's take a look at a few different pictures. What I did is I searched Google, literally typed get home bag in the image search, and these are the top images that came up. So they're relatively representative of what's being shared as the get home bag items that you really should carry. So let's take a look at this first picture. So the person has a number of bags out for, I would assume, a number of different people. And keep in mind, I haven't watched these people's videos or read things. These are literally just a picture search where people are showing you what they have. This person has 4 bags out, so I assume maybe they have a 4-person family. Nothing, that's great. If they have a bag for each person in their family, I'm all in favor of that. But they have ground cover rolls. The person has multiple magazines for a combat style rifle. They have axes. They have several canteens. Looks like they have some type of tent. They have all these items that are wonderful if you're walking or hiking somewhere on a long distance, right? The next picture, we'll take a look at this next one. And keep in mind, these are just all grabbed again. Just Google image search the top items. In fact, this one actually is titled Urban Get Home Bag. So keep in mind, this is for an urban environment. So we see tons of things here. I see a fire extinguisher, because who among us here isn't walking home and just needs to put out a fire as they're walking home? Again, hammocks, ground cover, an axe. I'm not sure what this thing is, but it looks like some type of prying or some type of prying tool. Again, tons of items that are useful in different scenarios for sure, but realistically speaking, are you going to need an axe to get home or a fire extinguisher on your get home walk, right? They have a couple CB radios as well. CB radios looks like those short walkie-talkie radios. And the third picture we have here, they have a whole bunch of stuff again. We have bivy sacks, we have blankets, a folding saw. So what I want to point out is that these items again are great if you're walking long distance. I mean, a lot of these people look like they're set up for a travel trip home of several days. But what you have to consider is that most people aren't going to be going that far. So I want to pull up here some commuter driving statistics. In other words, when people are going to work, how far are these people traveling? What is the distance that they're going and actually, traveling when they're going to work? So what we'll look at here is, and these are from Statistics Brain. Their source is from the National Household Travel Survey from the U.S. Department of Transportation. So what I want to do here is pull up some statistics related to commuter travel. In other words, on a daily basis, how far are people traveling to get to work? A lot of people talk about having a get-home bag, to get home from work. That's obviously where most of us spend a large part of our time outside the home. Probably the most important reason to have a get-home bag is for coming home from, from one of those locations, a location like that, right? So on average, the average commuter in the United States drives under 15 miles. So approximately 75% of every commuter in the United States, or 3 out of 4 people, are within 15 miles of their home on a regular basis. That's how far they're traveling. And with that, 50% is under 10 miles. So how long does it take an average person to travel 15 miles? The average walking speed for a human is approximately 3 miles an hour. So, take an average of, say, 2.5 and cut it out. So if you're within 10 miles, which is 50% of the population, you are within 4 hours of your home on a walk. And it's at 75% under 15 miles, that's 6 hours. So 75% of the population is within a 6-hour walk of home. What do you need folding saws and tents and ground cover to sleep on? I mean, you're walking for 6 hours, give or take, and that's at a relatively slow pace. All that gear as well, you're carrying all this stuff, that's certainly going to slow you down. If you're packed lighter, you're going to be able to travel much quicker. I think we all know that. So realistically speaking, why do you have all this stuff? What does the average person need to get home? I think that's kind of where a lot of these videos discussing get home bags go completely wrong and go kind of a little bit off the beaten path, so to say. Again, if you're traveling long distances, I can understand you might need those things, right? But for the normal person, do you need a fire extinguisher and an axe to get home? Plus, you got to consider the environment that you're walking home from, right? So most of these people are working in the suburbs or a city or some relatively populated area. Most people aren't working in a rural area. This is not where jobs are, etc. So they're not commuting there on a daily basis. Again, most people, I'm sure there are some people that do, and by all means, the normal advice for the average person probably isn't right for you. But this is, about the average person. So let's take a look at what the average person, where they live and what they're going to be commuting through. Obviously, we all know what a city looks like. There's, densely populated concrete. There's no real grass or plants to speak of. It's just a very sterile concrete environment, right? So, and then you also have the suburbs. Most people live in the cities or the suburbs, close to a city, and again, within 15 miles of home is where they're working. So you got to keep in mind where these people are walking through. Do you need an axe and a folding saw to walk home through the suburbs? My answer would be no, right? You have close buildings, and what are you going to do? Let's take a look here at a street inside the suburbs, a typical street. You have a small little plot of grass, a couple shrubs, and maybe some landscaping trees or whatnot. What are you going to do when you're going home on your 4-hour walk? Are you going to stop in the middle of someone's yard and throw up a tent? Are you going to cut up their bushes and start a fire in the middle of their yard? I mean, you have to consider the environment that most people are in when they're traveling home, right? They're not going to be, out in the middle of a backwoods somewhere, holing up for the night on a 35-mile hike home. That's just not what most people are going to be doing. They're not going to be 35 miles away from their home in the middle of a rural area, right? So you have to keep those things in mind when we're making these videos about what we suggest people have for a get-home bag. So obviously, again, I noted that it's not stupid to be prepared. In fact, it's a really great idea, but it should be realistically thought out for the scenario that you are in. And me, I am like most people. I live in a suburban/urban area. That's where people are. So what do I have in my bag? Well, I have appropriate socks and shoes, because if you're walking, you want your feet to be comfortable. I have a water bottle. I have a little thing of 5-hour energy. I think everybody should have personal protection of some type. So I'm not going to get into the argument of firearms or other less lethal options or whatnot, but you should have something to protect yourself, so some level of personal protection. This is an item I don't actually see in a lot of get-home bags, and it's surprising if you think about it, because this would be really useful. A pair of sunglasses. A lot of people aren't suggesting you have sunglasses on you, which is, if you're outside walking all day and it is daytime, well, you need to be able to see and protect your eyes. Also, flashlight with batteries in case you had to walk home at night, and then some appropriate clothes for travel based on the season that you're in. Obviously, that's going to depend on where you're located and the current time of the year and several things. So I'll leave it as appropriate clothes for travel based on season. So let me know what you think. I know this video topic may rile some people up, but you got to keep in mind that this is aimed towards the average person. Hence why I call this channel Realistic Prepping. So I am out. Thanks for watching Realistic Prepping, real prepping for real people.